And I tell you this, my breakout moment in broadcasting was in Winnipeg doing the Wednesday Lottery with Don Whitman. And my favorite author, you can see there's a lot of books in behind me here. My favorite author is from Steinbach, Manitoba. Her name is Miriam Taves, and she moved up. Great story about Miriam. Her father, Mel, ran a school in Steinbach, but on weekends for pin money, he would sell his eggs up in Winnipeg. He would drop off containers of eggs. So at one point, he was getting ready to marry a woman named Elvira, who would be Miriam Taves, the author's mom. And he wanted to build a house just like one he'd seen in Winnipeg dropping off eggs. So Elvira says, well, what's it like inside? He says, oh, I have no idea. I just drop the eggs on the veranda and I move on. She said, well, you got to look inside to see if it's a house worth building. He says, I can't ask to go inside. I'm an egg deliverer. She said, leave it to me. So they go up to Winnipeg from Steinbach. She knocks on the door and says, do you mind if we have a look around? My husband here, Mel, wants to build a home just like this in Steinbach, and it will be our new wedding gift. And the guy says, come on in. It was Bill Mosienko. Bill Mosienko holds the record for the fastest hat trick in NHL history. He scored 3 goals in 21 seconds. And that just proves he's a good egg. Oh, sorry, there's a pun.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Now,
can't remember my roommate's name, but we couldn't get into our room, and 2 exotic dancers came down the hallway and said, here you go, let us give you a hand with that.
How about that?
I was 16. It was like, whoa. Mandy in Edmonton has checked in, by the way. She says, flashback. I did find glitter around an ex's house all the way into the bedroom. Now you know. No charge.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. That was the Keystone Motor Inn in Brandon, just so you know. It was the Keystone. Several of you probably know of it. And it was a rookie camp, too, by the way, now that I think about it. We're going to be talking about rookies and hockey rookies. And welcome to a brand new week, everybody, of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Here we are, episode number 1337 of the RP Show here on Game Plus Television and Key Radio. I'm in the beautiful environs of the Boca Raton, Florida, well-air-conditioned studio. Moose is back in Toronto. Let's bring him in. And I understand you just got there, Darren, so I'm glad that you made it in time for the show. Can you tell the folks what your morning's been like? I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, it was the old, 5 after 4 wake-up call. Get to the airport for the 6 a.m. flight. And, Rod, I got a little nervous when we were sitting on the runway at 6:05 and haven't left yet, and it was a 6 o'clock departure. But you know what? Pilots were great. We made up some time in the air. I love waking up in those early morning flights, watching the sunrise as you head east. So we made it with 2 minutes to spare.
He's back in the 6, everybody. Coming up with a program today, the owner of Football Game Plan and from CBS Sports Network, Emory Hunt. He's in hour 2, and in hour 2, he's in hour 1. In hour 2, Taylor Mathis, the star of Walking Bets from DraftKings. You asked for her, you got her, coming up today. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, Director Jordan? The one thing I know, Darren, is these planes now, none of them, for whatever reason, have live television on them anymore. What did you fly, Air Canada or WestJet?
WestJet this time, but neither airline has the
no, nobody has them anymore. Yeah, I'm guessing it was just too big of a pain in the butt. None that I've seen. My point is I got caught up on all the NFL this morning for what I missed yesterday. And let me just say this. It was a rough Sunday for some of the NFL's best teams from last year. 49ers were stymied by the Vikings on the road. The Cowboys got destroyed at home by the Saints. The Ravens blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter against the Raiders. The Lions messed up and lost at home to the banged-up Buccaneers. And even Patrick Mahomes and the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs struggled. They barely escaped with a win over the Bengals when Harrison Butker kicked a last-second 51-yard field goal. And the Houston Texans needed a defensive stand in the final minute to hold off Caleb Williams and the Bears for a 19-13 victory in the last game of the day. So, look, it's Monday. It's kind of funny. There's not a whole lot going on. When I do the sports schedule for tonight, there's only one game, Monday Night Football. The Blue Jays are off. There's no hockey going on. So for the largest part, we're going to talk for the next 2 hours about football. There is breaking news today that the Pittsburgh Penguins have signed Sidney Crosby to a contract extension. That just broke before we went to air. We'll get to that later. But this is all about football right now. I got NFL, CFL, and then Monday Night Football tonight, college football, Canada West, all kinds of things on our Quick Six Show topics here. But I want to say this about the Cowboys losing at home. Can't even remember what it was. 44-19, I think, to the Saints. We went to the beach house for brunch yesterday, Moose. You're a big brunch fan. Yes. And I know you're a fan of the beach house. And they had volleyball on the TV. Yeah, the volleyball on the TV sets at 1 o'clock. And I said, can you guys put on the Cowboys game, please? I didn't need to watch for long. The Saints were running through them like a hot knife through butter. I don't know if you were watching that game or not, but they scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions. So, by supper time, I'd put it away. I'd compartmentalized it. I was upset for an hour or 2 after the game. And I'm like, why am I going to lose sleep on this bunch of turkeys? It's the best that I can say. I heard it this morning, and I'll say it again. The Dallas Cowboys are like the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You see it. Every time you see it, you know what's coming, and you still laugh. I've seen this movie so many times, and I still laugh. The Cowboys got killed, and I'll just say this. Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott saying afterwards that there's no need to worry. This is what do they call them? A learnable, teachable moment. A teachable moment. It's early in the season, Darren. No big deal. So I guess my choice is be upset or just trust them and move on and think about something else. I will say this. Taylor Mathis, who's coming up next hour, did openly question on Twitter. She goes, Jerry Jones, in all caps, I don't know if you saw it. She's like, you need to explain how Dak Prescott's a $60 million quarterback and per year. She can talk about the backlash she got when she joins us later on in an hour or two. But it's true. I've been saying this, Darren, for how long? Since as long as you and I have known each other. I don't see it with Dak Prescott. They're gaslighting me, saying that he's all that. He ain't. So that's my takeaway from NFL Sunday Week 2. What's yours?
You look at the top quarterbacks in football. Let's go to Lamar Jackson, for example. One of the top quarterbacks in the game. I think we would argue that. But even when they lose, like no quarterback wins every game. But when they lose these football games, they're in the game. They're in every game. The Cowboys weren't in the game on the weekend. At least the Baltimore Ravens were in the game twice and lost on last-second drives. Otherwise, they would have had chances to win. So that sticks out to me. What else jumps out at me on the weekend? Again, Mahomes winning the football game. You know, you look at the rookies and Caleb Williams struggling again, still looking for his first touchdown pass. It's going to take time. It may be a rough year, but it does not mean that it's not going to happen. Now, Bryce Young, different story. He's now in year 2. He needs to start figuring it out now in year 2. We need to see some growth by the end of the year with Bryce Young.
Yeah, and now watch the Sunday night game. The Chicago Bears probably have the worst offensive line in football, but they took the Texans down to the last minute. So they're finding a way. That's why these quarterbacks get all the money. But as I was watching the Cowboys game yesterday, I'm like, does Dak not know? And the Cowboys not know this? When you're getting $60 million a year and you are the highest paid NFLer ever, it's not just every throw has to be perfect. Every decision has to be perfect. Every step needs to be perfect, especially within the Dallas Cowboys nation. This is what you're getting paid for, Dak. We can't have you throwing picks. We can't have you fumbling. We can't have you taking sacks. So, again, I'm not going to spend 2 seconds. I slept like a baby last night. I'm not going to worry about the Dallas Cowboys. And it just bothers me because I read that article about Troy Aikman and how honesty is so important to Troy Aikman. And I want to believe Troy that he says Dak Prescott is all that. But I'm like, also been around the game, the block a few times myself. And I don't see it. So I'm like, Troy, are you telling us the truth? I don't feel like he is. By the way, here's another breaking news, Darren. I've been diagnosed with bursitis in my left heel.
Ooh.
Please hold your applause. So now the watershed moment in my life. I'm wearing what can only be aptly called old people shoes. Look at the size of the sole in this thing. It's like 6 inches thick. I'm wearing old people shoes.
They're not Velcro, so take pride in that.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my God, what causes bursitis? And they're like, you're running too much. I'm like, well, that's obvious. And age. I'm like, oh, great. I guess there's worse things. There's worse things. But bursitis, now you can add that to my resume. So I'm just, it hurts to walk. And listen, I'm lumbering around FAU Stadium Saturday night, the Shula Bowl, and I'm limping. Most days I would have probably walked home. I looked it up. It's 1.7 miles from our new place here in Boca. But I can't walk. I don't know what the hell's wrong with my heel, but there's something wrong. I don't want to be that old person walking with a limp. You just look at them and go, oh, what's wrong with them? You don't know what it is, but you know there's something wrong with them. And you think they weren't healthy in their life. There's nobody healthier than me. And now I'm wearing old people's shoes. So, yeah, there's that. Again, please hold your applause. We didn't even get to your Titans losing to the Jets. Do you conveniently skip past that?
You know what I did? I thought Aaron Rodgers took a step forward. Just looking at the entire game, took a step forward. Breece Hall was contained for the most part, but broke a couple of runs. Garrett Wilson was a little underwhelming. Here's the thing about Tennessee. Like, I leave that game, I feel pretty good. Like, the expectation's not to win games this year, but this defense is ahead of schedule. They are, I would say this defense is elite. It really is. We've got playmakers on the Titans, but and I think Will Levis has some real skills and abilities, but his decision-making right now as a young quarterback is not elite. I mean, we saw Brian Callahan when he came off the sideline after that play. What the hell are you doing? He used a different word than that. And we were all thinking it. I'm like, yes, thank you. And he's like, you're a grown man. You're better than that. He is better than that. I know the coach that he works with out of Vancouver, Rob Williams. He works with Nathan Rourke and a bunch of other young quarterbacks. He worked with Will Levis. Will Levis has the tools, but the decision-making has to be better, and the Titans will be okay. I really think that.
I'm just checking the scores here. Bomber Boy writes in from Calgary. He says, my pack snuck in a W against a shorthanded Colts team. Says the thing, it doesn't help Will Levis's case that the guy they got rid of for him led Green Bay to a win, an upset win over Indianapolis, right? So I'm just checking some of the comments here. Bill Edwards writes in. He's the guy that gave me the Ron and Don bobbleheads. He goes, it beats not getting old, Rod. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. Which was part of the really crappy part of the weekend. This was forwarded to me by a mutual friend, the news of Ben Fairbrother passing away at the age of 51 due to a tragic motorcycle incident on Friday night. That's why I was not going to spend any more than 2 seconds fretting over the Dallas Cowboys. Ben Fairbrother was a good friend of mine, an offensive lineman in the CFL, 4 years with the Rough Riders, 3 more seasons with BC. Pretty good career. And as 2 young single guys in the 90s, he used to come into the press box at hockey games in Regina and just sit with me, Pat's games, and while we were friends for a long time and stayed close. His stepson was playing for the Brandon Wheat Kings, Brett Highland, so he always wanted updates. So, yeah, we all have tragedies in our life, but that certainly puts a lot of it in perspective for me, and condolences to the Fairbrother family and those left behind. So we go fast on these, every morning, hour 1, we do the Quick 6 show topics. Number 2 is CFL Week 15. I want to spend some time on this. You kicked my butt. We both had Friday night wrong, but we both had the BC Lions to beat Toronto, and that didn't happen. Chad Kelly and the Toronto Argonauts walked into BC and had the last laugh over Nathan Rourke and the BC Lions, 33-17. Saturday, a doubleheader. You picked this, Hamilton to beat Ottawa, and they did, 37-21. That denied the Red Blacks the chance to clinch a playoff berth. And then just a weird game, and Cody Fajardo said it. My guy, Cody, quarterback from Montreal, said this is the weirdest game I've ever played in. A 19-19 tie. Alouettes and Stampeders Saturday afternoon. Whoever had that. But the game of the week, the Braley Bowl, went to the Argos. Nathan Rourke was pulled at halftime. I'm going to have to defer to you. Now, again, you're broadcasting football yourself, so maybe you didn't see much of it. You were up doing the Huskies game Friday night. But again, I got to turn the radio off. I got to turn the TV off. I got to stop listening to people. Because Jim Barker talked me into the fact that the long flight from Toronto to BC and the late start and all that was going to hurt the Argos. No, they went out and kicked BC's ass. Talk about 10 o'clock start, my ass. And then Nathan Rourke after was forced to explain himself and couldn't. They got big problems in BC. And who the hell saw that coming with Nathan Rourke returning from the NFL? Like, that is the ultimate hairpin turn plot twist, hey, that I've seen in years.
I know. He came back, and BC all of a sudden had the best two quarterbacks in football, right? In the Canadian Football League. And then you look at the last couple of weeks, and Nathan Rourke looks like he's back. And it's like, okay, the Lions are back. They're favored back. They're going to win the Grey Cup. Everything's great. And then Toronto comes in, and slaps him around. And Nathan Rourke looks bad again and gets pulled at halftime. And everybody says, see, look how bad he was. Well, a week ago, we thought he was back and back playing like an MVP. It's week to week, the highs and lows. Can you stay even, through the turbulence? And I don't think I'm panicking if I'm BC. But that's something you can't have, and you're getting down to the short strokes here of the season. That kind of reminded me of Toronto going in and playing Montreal in a huge game in the playoffs, and soiling themselves. BC can't do that down the stretch if they want to be considered Grey Cup contenders.
Guy, if they're not panicking now, what's it going to take? Like, Nathan Rourke had back-to-back 300-yard passing games, and they won. He looked awful the other night and had to get the hook. And literally, who do you start the rest of the way? I think they should be panicking. By the way, I want to read a couple of the text messages from the audience. Freddie in Winnipeg writes in, he says, good morning, boys. My top 3 NFL takeaways from this weekend. Number 3, Ravens are 0-2. Number 2, Kamara's 4 touchdowns. Sorry, Rod. And number 1, Kyler Murray of the Cardinals and his perfect quarterback rating against the Rams. What was it, like 158.3 is perfect? Kyler Murray was perfect for the Cardinals. It's taken until year 7 for him to be the guy they thought they were getting 7 years ago. Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in and he says, I never watched the Cowboys game, but from what I heard, the Cowboys defense was horrid. Last I checked, Dak doesn't play defense. Caleb Williams looked terrible last night. Sure hope JJ isn't hurt long-term. For a change, I'm enjoying watching the Vikings. You don't get an opinion on the Cowboys unless you watch the game. So we don't get an opinion. So they allowed a touchdown on 6 straight possessions. Yeah, the defense was bad. Dak was bad too. He's the one getting $60 million. So worry about your own team. We'll be back in a moment. We're just scratching the surface of a big football weekend. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, of course, live streaming on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Just a reminder, everybody, the RP Show is brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RP Show for 15% off at checkout. Check us out now at seatgiant.ca. Please bring the Moose in. We do have breaking news on this Monday. Sidney Crosby plans to remain a Pittsburgh Penguin for at least 3 more years. The Penguins announced on Monday that they re-signed the 37-year-old from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, to a 2-year contract extension that has an average annual value of U.S. $8.7 million. So the deal runs through 2027. And I saw Crosby when the Penguins came through here. He was their best player here in Sunrise. He was their hardest working player. So this does not surprise me at all, as long as he wants to keep playing. That's a big price tag, though. $8.7 million matches his jersey number. How do you feel about that news, Moose?
But it's not as big as he could get on the open market. And it's not as big as, because he's still a really, really good player. I think he's still an elite player. I don't know if he's, a top 5 player in the NHL anymore. But he's an elite player every time he touches the ice. And my first thought was, it seemed too easy to get Sidney Crosby back in Pittsburgh. And doesn't this seem like the perfect kind of deal that Steven Stamkos should have been able to get done in Tampa? A little less money than he's used to making, in that $8.5 million range. But as you said, if you want to get a deal done, you would have got a deal done. If you wanted Stamkos, you would have kept him. And Pittsburgh wants Crosby. Crosby wants Pittsburgh. That's a match made, and they made the deal. Pretty easy.
It's wild. 3 years, 8.7. It's funny because Serena on our Cats and Bolts podcast, we really went after each other. And she goes, if Stamkos wanted to stay in Tampa Bay, he'd have taken less money. I'm like, I wouldn't go quite that far. I think it's Tampa Bay didn't want Steven Stamkos, and here's Pittsburgh wanting Crosby. Are they holding on too long? Probably. They've missed the playoffs the last 2 years, but it sure as hell isn't his fault. Anyways, I wasn't done yet talking CFL. So everybody, we're going to get back to that in a second. Jeff, number 3 in Winnipeg, writes in and he says, man, my Georgia Dogs better show up in 2 weeks. Going into Tuscaloosa is going to be yikes. You have a week 3 college football thought? Because the Texas Longhorns, Hook'em Horns, are now number 1 team in all of college football for the first time since 2008. I enjoyed the Shula Bowl here despite a 2-hour rain delay. Florida Atlantic University versus Florida International University. Colorado got the big win. Coach Prime over Colorado State on rivalry weekend. It was a good weekend of college football. What were your takeaways?
It was a good weekend of college football. You know, Notre Dame jumped Michigan in the rankings. I think they're 17th. Michigan's 18th now. 2 teams trying to, again, find their way. I think Notre Dame will be fine. Michigan probably won't be, but hopefully, you know, they're looking to get in 10, 11, 12 into the playoff. You know, Coach Prime and Colorado won big over Colorado State. But with this is my favorite line of college football on the weekend on social media. It was about the Texans, right? And they win, but Quinn Ewers goes down. He's going to miss a couple of weeks at least, and and Arch Manning comes into the game and busts off a huge touchdown run too. And somebody said, well, it looks like Arch Manning got every ounce of athleticism in the Manning DNA pool. Nobody else got one. It was like a recessive gene in everybody else's DNA, and it all filtered down
the
to
generation.
Yes.
62 yards. 62 yards he ran. By the way, our viewers are particularly lucid today and with it. Can we keep this all week? Okay? Let's remember where we are. Yeah, and let's keep it out. For instance, Wayne in Victoria, BC writes that he says, people used to tell me that having 2 quarterbacks is actually having none. You need 1 starter and a good backup. I heard that phrase too. I believed it for the longest time until, quite frankly, when the Eagles won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. That's when I was like, they had 2 quarterbacks and they won a Super Bowl because of it. That's a stupid saying. Another one was, I mean, because again, I didn't grow up playing football. Hockey was my thing. You can't fool me on that. With football, you can. Somebody said years ago to me in the CFL that halftime adjustments were overrated. So I went along with that. No, halftime adjustments win you a game. And the Montreal Alouettes, I think, are the greatest halftime adjusting team, best second-half team in all of football. Maybe they didn't show it here on Saturday. Mind you, they did come back in Calgary and get what could be a very important point. But yeah, no, of course you want 2 quarterbacks, which quite frankly, let me get you on the Tua thing for a second, just so you know. The epicenter of the NFL talk right now is Tua. So this morning at Johnny O's gym, I ran despite my bursitis in my heel. I got to find a way to deal with this because I can't not run. And I'm talking to David at the front desk, and he's like, no. I said, did the Dolphins sign a quarterback yet? He's like, no, they're not going to. Tua said he's not retiring. I'm like, oh, okay. That's from David. He's on top of this. He's my Dolphins guy. He would know. But I'm listening on the radio to and from the gym, and Joe Rose, radio guy, color guy for the Dolphins, is like, we got to sign a quarterback. And the hosts were like, we got to draft a quarterback. And Joe's like, we got 15 games to go, so we can't worry about the draft. We got to get a quarterback in here. I think we put this to bed on Friday, Darren, before Tua even announced it. He wasn't going to retire. They never, ever, ever retire. They don't until they're not offered a contract. But the Dolphins, but my point is there's heat now on Chris Greer, the general manager of the Dolphins, that they didn't have a number 2 guy capable of winning games now without Tua, because Skylar Thompson can. So the thing with BC, why they should be panicking is they got 2 quarterbacks and still can't win. Vernon Adams and Nathan Rourke.
I know. It's a problem. The 2 quarterbacks you don't have none line is kind of hogwash. But the thing when you have 2 quarterbacks like Vernon and Nathan Rourke is you need to define what their roles are, and everybody needs to buy into what their role is in the organization. With the Dolphins, just because Tua is not going to retire doesn't mean they're not going to sign a veteran on a 1-year deal to help finish out the year, because we don't know if Tua is going to come back this year or not. You know, drafting a quarterback, sure, but you're going to need somebody to come in because they're in win now mode.
Well, we thought they were. So the point, you can't withstand the loss of your quarterback. It reminds me a little bit of the Rough Riders in the CFL where Trevor Harris was out. They only won one game without him. Now he's back, and they're 0-4 with him. So where do you think the Heat should be? Utah, Darren writes in and says, great weekend of football. Anything can happen once the ball is kicked off. College, NFL, or CFL. Yeah, the outcomes were crazy. There were 6 underdogs that won in the NFL. I'm going to say this to Monty in Saskatoon. He writes in, Darren, Monty in Saskatoon says, talk about Canada West football. Monty, we do the talking and you do the watching. So zip it. We'll talk about what we want to talk about. Why do you keep forgetting that? Please and thank you. From BW in Edmonton says, morning. Colorado's two-way star, Hunter, that guy's incredible. Playing both ways at Division I. Wow. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the Stampeders had too many untimely penalties. They should have been able to put it away. Jay in Winnipeg says, Sid even hand delivers season tickets. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, put the fork in to gain Curtis Rourke. That's the other thing. Nathan Rourke's little brother, which they say Curtis Rourke of Indiana is better than Nathan. I got to be honest. I think the conversation we got to have here is, how good is Nathan Rourke? To be honest, I feel like texting my guys that were the biggest Nathan Rourke guys, and I'm talking American football people, not that they know more than football, than Canadians, but we're led to believe that they are. I don't actually think that. But they were blowing up my phone why Nathan Rourke wasn't getting a chance in the NFL, and now he's back in the CFL, and he gets pulled. How good is Nathan Rourke? Let's be honest about it, Darren. How good is he?
It's a great question. I think largely, he's a good player. He's a good player because we know, we've seen it. We've seen it with our own eyes. He can play the game. He really can. But where is he at mentally, and how consistently can he play at that high level? He needs to do it down the stretch. The reason I'm saying I'm not panicking is because and BC's not panicking is because you have some games left and you've got some depth there. But if he puts together, back-to-back bad efforts like this again, like you really have to start to wonder if rushing him back was too soon and if he needs an off season to be ready to go for next year, and it's going to take that much time. That's what I start to wonder, that maybe this should be Vernon Adams' team down the stretch, and Nathan will come back as your starter next year. I think I'm still confident that Nathan Rourke's going to be fine in this league, but it just might not be now.
I guess this is one of the things that sets this show apart because a lot of people don't have the stories that I do. I wonder if the BC Lions regret giving him all that money, $250,000 for this season and $800,000 for next. Literally, are they regretting it? Because the chemistry of your locker room is so unbelievably delicate. They should go in there and do the litmus test, do tests of the temperature. Oh, no, we're not adding another quarterback because this is VA's team. They didn't seem to care about VA at all, did they? And the reason I bring up the story is 2004, Henry Burris gets cut in the NFL. We already had Nealon Green in Sask as our starter, but Henry Burris is going to go somewhere. So we throw all this money at Hank to get him to come back to Saskatchewan and then don't play him. And me and Henry's relationship, how tight we are. Henry's like, Rod, I'm making double what Nealon is, but they're playing Nealon. I'm like, I can't explain it. And so it was an ego thing. They gave Henry all that money so that nobody else could get him, but then didn't play him to punish him. It wasn't, and it, by the way, was Nealon's team. It wasn't Henry's team. Henry bolted to go to the NFL. It became Nealon's team. They had to make a move to get a guy. Lo and behold, Nealon's winning games for us, right? So why not let Henry go somewhere else, right? Now, having said all that, we went to the West Final each year, and we had a good team. I'm not even saying that it necessarily was wrong, but I think we all thought to say you're going to play the highest paid guy isn't always the case. And that's why I don't think Roy Shivers should be in the Hall of Fame, because he was playing favorites and not doing what was best for the football team. He was doing what was best for his own personal ego. That's why Roy and I don't get along now. Plus, I'm a Hank guy. But see what I'm saying? That's why BC, don't think they're not thinking about this stuff, Darren. They have to be.
Well, it's very delicate the way they're pulling the strings and trying to manage this situation. As VA's gotten healthy and Rourke played well and now struggles, and you got a third quarterback who, mind you, has really only played in garbage time, who's putting up some pretty good numbers too in Bryce. Every time he comes out, he's 4 for 4 for 86 yards and a touchdown, or 6 for 6, or 7 of 9. He's playing well too. I mean, it's a delicate situation in Vancouver for sure, and the temperature is getting cranked up.
Viewer Pierre writes in, he says, I think it's unfair to blame Friday's loss on the quarterbacks. The Lions' defense was helpless. Yeah? Then why'd they pull Rourke? Don't come at me. Go tell Rick Campbell that and see what he says. See you in hour 2, Moose.
See you then.
Emory Hunt from Football Game Plan joins us next. Taylor Mathis in hour 2. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch. Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown. Some girls don't like boys like me. With Shenandoah. You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road. Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center. I'll take the dirt road. Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. 6 days on the road and I'm Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpedersen.com. Emory Hunt joins us now from Football Game Plan and CBS Sports HQ. Hey, Emory. I wasn't on with you the last time you were on this show, so thanks, man. I appreciate the time coming on today. And listen, Clark goes, Emory can talk NFL, college, CFL. That's a lot to get into in 8 minutes. But I'm going to start with this. I didn't even mention yet our poll question is, who is the most surprising 2-0 team in the NFL? Seahawks, Vikings, Steelers, or Saints? Who are you voting for there?
I would say the Vikings based off how they've played offensively. And when you're watching Sam Darnold play and you're watching how he played last year with San Francisco and watching him to start this season, it makes you wonder, why would they even draft J.J. McCarthy? I mean, you're getting solid, stable, veteran quarterback play from Sam Darnold. And when you look at J.J. McCarthy and what he did at Michigan, I mean, maybe he was overdrafted in round one, but you're seeing what his potential was what they were seeing from Sam Darnold, who, you know, now is the full-time starter, didn't really have to, worry about someone's looking over his shoulder or whatnot. So he's out there playing comfortable, confident football. And we're seeing the best Sam Darnold that we've seen in his career.
Right. But did we expect him to be this good? I know I didn't.
Right. That's why it's a surprise that the Vikings are 2-0. Because we know the defense was going to be good. We know they were going to be able to run the ball. The question was, how were the quarterbacks going to play, whether that was J.J. McCarthy and also Sam Darnold. But McCarthy made it easier by getting injured. And so now we're seeing Sam Darnold. What can he carry over? Because he had a good game prior to the Ravens game when he came in for the Ravens game last year in San Francisco and led them to a score. But then the next week, he struggled again. So we didn't know exactly what we're going to get from Darnold. But the fact that we're getting this from Darnold combined with the defense makes that Vikings 2-0 so much surprising.
Emory, again, this is our first interview, but I've been following your stuff for a long time. I know you follow me. It's very evident you know your game. So let me ask you this. Do you feel these early wins are not a mirage in a lot of ways? In every league, teams, jump out of the gate, and I feel like they don't go into the lab to fix things. Saskatchewan in the CFL is a good example of that, jumping out to 4-0, whereas Winnipeg was 0-4, and now they're on a 5-game heater. Like, early wins. Where are you on the importance of them?
Well, winning matters because winning and losing both are contagious, right? So if you're winning, you're finding ways to get things done. Now, where the separator is from the good teams and the average teams is the fact that when you are winning, you can still find ways to get better and you know how to handle success. What we see a lot of times with these young teams that tend to start out fast, let's say like a Vikings team, right? Just to use an example, or even Saskatchewan, start out fast, quarterback play is questionable. You get, a young quarterback in there, he's making plays, but you see where, okay, if this went this way or that went that way, this could have been a loss. And you come out the next game and you see the same things again. With the good teams, they're able to erase with that, hey, we could have lost if we would have done this, and they erase that for the next game so they can continue to sustain that success. With a young team or a team that's average, they really can't handle success. And that's why you see the variance from week to week, even with the team on the college front, like a Colorado, right? Come out last year, 3-0 start, and then they face adversity and they fall off, right? And then you saw how they could have lost those games that they were undefeated in, but they didn't really clean that up. And then they let that linger. Well, on the other side, you see teams that are bad, that have a lot of good talent. Let's say like a Baltimore Ravens. We've seen them start 0-2. They've started 0-2 before. They've lost some games that they should have won. But they are going to fix those wrongs, galvanize, and at the end of the season, we'll be looking at them as a 1 or a 2 seed in the AFC.
Bengals too. Coincidentally, in the same division. Okay, I got one college question for you because you went there with Colorado. Are the Texas Longhorns the best team in college football? I know they topped the polls for the first time since 2008, but are they, in your mind, the best team in college football?
Yes, because they have stable quarterback play. Obviously, when, knock on wood, Quinn Ewers is healthy, he helps make this offense go. I was worried about the backfield depth coming into the season because they lost some tremendous talent due to injury in the preseason or in fall camp. But these backs that they have been just as good or equally as good as what they had on the depth chart before. So now you don't lose anything with your run game. Your defense is still stout. They hit the portal the right way, and we're able to replenish NFL players with guys that are going to be NFL players. So Texas, to me, is the most well-balanced on both sides of the ball. They got the better quarterback play that you can trust in terms of, okay, who are they going to go head-to-head against in terms of trying to win a national championship? I like their quarterback situation over Ohio State. I like them in a game against Alabama because I've seen that game play out before, although I like Milroe as a passer, and you like them over Georgia because you like Ewers over Carson Beck. So I feel like Texas is the best team in the country.
Makes me happy with a former Rough Rider at the helm and Steve Sarkisian, which, are you in New York, Emory, by the way?
I'm in Jersey, so right outside New York City.
Okay. I follow your stuff, and I just wonder, where did you get this love, if I may call it that, for the CFL from? Because you're watching the league, obviously. Where's your love come from for the CFL?
I've always been a big fan because I grew up a big fan of Rocket Ismail, right? But where my true passion for the game and following the game and understanding how great the game is and the talent that they have up there was two of my former teammates went up there and balled out in Canada. Fred Stamps of the Edmonton Elks and Kyrie Saber of the Montreal Alouettes, and then the Ottawa Renegades, and I think it was the Renegades.
Bombers.
Played for.
Yeah, he's with the Bombers too.
So knowing how good these dudes were, and then I'll be remiss if I didn't mention D'Anthony Baptiste with the Edmonton Elks as well. So when you watch these guys and know how nice these guys were as teammates in terms of their game and how they played, and then go up there to Canada, you're like, oh, I know there's talent up there because these dudes are good. And guys that we played against in college going up there and balling out, you're like, oh, these dudes are good too. Like Matt Dominguez, who was a receiver for Saskatchewan, I feel like, who played at Sam Houston with Josh McCown, goes up there and you're like, man, they got talent up there in Canada, so don't sleep on it. And it's a difficult game, so watching how unique the game is and how challenging it is, my respect was there since 2002. So, that's how I feel about the CFL and why I've always had the respect for it. That's why I'm always making sure I throw that in when I'm talking NFL or talking college. Like, hey, man, don't sleep on the CFL. They've done this before. What you're saying is now new in the NFL. CFL has been doing it for 30 years already.
Yeah. I tell you what used to keep me up at night was that Fred Stamps never played for the Calgary Stampeders. That just bothered me. It was this has got to happen.
Right.
Stamps playing for the Stamps from Louisiana Lafayette. I called a lot of his games. Emory, we're over time, but I'm dying to ask you this. You're a TV guy. You can wrap it up in 60 to 90 seconds. How big of a panic should the BC Lions be in with their quarterback situation right now?
Big panic because you get what you asked for, get it because you asked for. You ran out there and grabbed Rourke when you had a good option, MOP candidate and Vernon Adams there already ready to go. But yes, you bring back Matthew Betts, but you messed up the quarterback situation. You made it awkward. You made it difficult. Now you got to deal with it.
How about that?
Nice stuff, Emory. Okay, man. Keep it up. Let's do it again soon.
Appreciate you, man. Always a pleasure.
You betcha. Emory Hunt from Football Game Plan and CBS Sports HQ. Hey, that was a lot fiery than what I said. We'll be coming right back with a sports update and viewer takeover after this, okay? Live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, hockey players, are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Well, look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Whether you're prepping for the big game or just want to have some fun, Overtime Hockey Lanes has got you covered. Check them out at 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. On a Monday, here's your sports update. News you can use. Sidney Crosby plans to remain a Pittsburgh Penguin for at least 3 more years. The Penguins announced today they have re-signed the 37-year-old from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, to a 2-year contract extension that has an average annual value of $8.7 million. Isn't that cute? That's his jersey number, 87. $8.7 million Sidney Crosby will get for the next 2 seasons. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Eagles will be aiming to win their second straight home game of the young NFL season when they host the 0-1 Atlanta Falcons tonight. The Eagles edged the Green Bay Packers 34-29 in a wild Week 1 matchup. They were the home team, even though it was played in Brazil, right? Meanwhile, the Falcons struggled to move the ball in an 18-10 loss to the visiting Pittsburgh Steelers, which, by the way, those Steelers are in our poll as who's the most surprising 2-0 team. Seahawks, Vikings, Steelers, Saints running away with it, the Vikings. So you Vikings fans, just chill. Be happy where you are. Don't be popping champagne. Mentioned this earlier. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will see a neurologist this week after suffering his 4th concussion in 5 years and his 3rd in the NFL. Tua is focused on getting better and isn't thinking about retiring, according to a source. I feel like we covered that a lot on Friday and am not surprised by any of it. He wasn't going to retire. The players don't ever retire on their own. They just don't. They stop when nobody offers them a contract. There are 10 games in Major League Baseball tonight, but the Blue Jays have a day off after sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals in a 3-game weekend set. Jays open a 3-game series Tuesday against the Rangers in Arlington. The sports update brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is back. After an unexpected family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down when her rebellious teenage daughter, Astrid, discovers the mysterious model of the town in the attic, and the portal to the afterlife is accidentally opened. Ooh, I can't wait. Check your local Landmark Cinemas for showtimes. 902-518-3033 is the number to reach us in the studio. Freddie in Winnipeg writes in regarding this quarterback conundrum of the BC Lions. He says, who do you start? Nathan Rourke or Vernon Adams? But their offensive line should do better regardless of who's the quarterback. Well, they got a lot of coaches there that have a lot more experience than me. It will come down to who, I would hope it would come down to who they think gives them the best chance to win. And I don't know who that is, because they were losing games at VA, and they've been losing games with Nathan Rourke. It's up to me. Probably playing VA. If you're asking me right now, I'd probably play him. Kirk writes in from Toronto. Hi, Rod. How about those Cowboys? They got motor-voted by a motivated Saints team right in the big D. You think I don't know that, Kirk? You think I'm happy that you're writing in to troll today that my Cowboys lost? Oh. By the way, he writes in and says, 7 sacks. How about those Argos? 7 sacks. Chad Kelly played great. Oh, and you were right, Rod. The Argos have nothing to worry about. What I told you. Vintage Sasko writes in and says, happy Monday. Just throwing fire to the woodpile. I think Nathan Rourke will be great eventually, but you got to wonder, is he Casey Printers when he came back to the CFL? Possibly. And I feel like we need to get into this with Moose next hour. Making a mountain out of a molehill? That's what we do in sports talk. And I love when the NFL and CFL meshes together. That makes it a lot more interesting for everybody. So we'll continue that after this brief pause here on Game Plus and Key Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
No! Can't remember my roommate's name, but we couldn't get into our room, and 2 exotic dancers came down the hallway and said, "Here you go, let us give you a hand with that."
How about that?
I was 16. It was like, whoa. Mandy at Edmonton has checked in, by the way. She says, flashback. I did find glitter around an ex's house all the way into the bedroom. Now you know. No charge.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, guilty as charged. Welcome to the RP Show, everybody. Hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show here on Game Plus. Hey, just kick your shoes off. If you're me, kick off your specially modified old people shoes. Undo your belt and get comfortable for hour 2. Taylor Mathis coming your way from the Walking Bets popular segment from DraftKings. If you don't know, you will know. If you know, you know. Let's bring the Moose in. There's just some comments here from carryover Moose from hour 1. Emory Hunt he came in guns a-blazing. Did you interview him the last time he was on, Emory Hunt?
I did. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. He's dropping the hot take. And he's got a nice voice and a nice delivery. He's like the Black U. Really?
Well, thank you.
Utah Darren writes in, he says, Emory, I love your work with all levels of football. Hopefully that gets to him. Allie from Texarkana checks in and says, happy Monday, RP and squad. Happy Monday, Allie. I will say this, loving me some Monday daytime hockey. The Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers are playing right now in Nashville in the final game of the NHL Rookie Showcase, but people don't care about their Canadian team rookies. I'm not going to bore you with the U.S. team rookies. I'll just say it does the heart good to have some daytime hockey. That's what happens with training camps. By the way, Emory Hunt, here's the quote. I said, how much of a panic should the BC Lions be in with their quarterback, given they have lost games with both Nathan Rourke and Vernon Adams? Emory says, big panic. You get what you asked for. You screwed up your quarterback situation. That meme coming to a social media feed near you soon. Rob in Vegas says, hot take on the Lions quarterback situation by Emory. So, yeah. He came in spitting fire. Moose, not just for Monty, but for the Canadian University football fans, can you give a quick 60 seconds or less Canada West football wrap? Because that's what you did all weekend.
It was wild, man, and I'll try and be brief. The first game I called, Saskatchewan home to Calgary, went to double overtime. Huskies won. Riker Frank over 200 yards rushing. UBC Regina slugged it out in a real defensive game late. UBC hangs on to win there thanks to a couple of turnovers. And Alberta trying to come from behind to knock off Manitoba. They drive the field, go for 2 points in the win, and don't get it. They lose by 1. And the game of the week was actually out east. Taylor Elgersma, reigning OUA MVP, put up 385 yards in a win against number 1 Western. Western, they had a 30-game win streak in the OUA that was snapped by Laurier, who won 42-28, and that was only a late touchdown by Western. So pretty good week in the university football landscape.
By the way, I got to say, this is why it's important to do what we do, because not a lot of guys on national television are doing it. That quarterback down there in Southern Ontario you were talking about, they say he's the next one? That he is like the next one? What's the name again?
Taylor Elgersma. He won the MVP in the OUA last year, was up for the Heck Crichton. Jonathan Senecal in Quebec won in Montreal. But he's got all the tools. He's like 6'4". He throws just a great football. So he's got the arm strength, which is always a question for Canadian quarterbacks. He's got the vision. And I've been waiting 3 weeks to see him put up the stats. Well, he had a spectacular game against the best team in Canada.
Okay, there you go, Canadian University fans. We've said it. Don't bring it up again. Monday Night Football, because there's people trolling me about the Cowboys getting spanked 44-19 by the New Orleans Saints, and I now get why Friday morning I turned on the radio here in Miami to listen to Joe Rose to see what he had to say about the Dolphins getting rolled by the Bills on Thursday Night Football and Tua getting hurt. And Joe's like, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, he didn't want to talk about it. It's like me with the Cowboys getting killed. I don't want to talk about it. So we're going to turn the page to tonight. The Philadelphia Eagles will be without star receiver A.J. Brown for tonight's home opener against the Atlanta Falcons. Brown, who had 5 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown in the Week 1 win against Green Bay, is out with a hamstring injury. Falcons coming off a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the Eagles will have a problem with the Falcons tonight with or without A.J. Brown. I think the point spread is 5.5. Eagles favored at home. It's actually their home opener because their first game was in Brazil. Thoughts on the... I think the Eagles fly tonight and the Falcons get clipped. Sorry, Ryan on radio down there in Atlanta. What do you think is going to happen in the Monday night game tonight?
Yeah, I do too. Saquon at least is off to a great start in Philly and seems to love playing there. No A.J. Brown is a big loss. He's a top 5, for sure, a top 10 receiver in the National Football League. And I'm curious, though, I don't know if it'll be a blowout because I'm curious about Atlanta. You know, I still like Kirk Cousins. It was a slow start in the game against Pittsburgh. He should be more comfortable. He should be better. There should be more chemistry. You know, Bijan Robinson needs to be better. I expect Atlanta to be better than last week, but I still think Philly wins.
902-518-3033, the number to text us here in the studio. I'm in South Florida, which, by the way, this studio is a game changer. The air conditioning in here is almost cold, like too cold. I mean, it's supposed to be cold. But I walk out into the Florida heat after the show, and I'm like, this feels good. Rather than sitting there and sweating it out all day. I love Johnny O's. I love the beach house, but sitting there all day in that sun just cooks you. Nice in here. And Serena bought me a housewarming gift for the office, for the studio. Does anybody want to see it? It's a small fridge. Back in the day, it would have been a beer fridge, but I don't drink. So it's a Diet Coke fridge. You want to see it?
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about something for a minute while I grab it. Okay. This is an unscheduled treat for everybody. Talk about something, Moose.
Well, I will. Yeah, you're not going to listen to this, but you bring up Florida, and that was my. I was going to say the heat, right? And it's actually not bad in Saskatchewan. Usually this time of year is the triple wardrobe change, right, guys? Maybe. I mean, we can keep Rod on with the empty seat because we want to see when he pulls in whatever he's going to pull in, but. The big thing about coming back is I landed down in Toronto. Leanne was there to pick me up so we could race back here and be ready for the show. I got my puffy vest on, the long sleeves. I got the long pants on. And she's like, dude, it's 27 degrees here today. You did not dress appropriately. I'm like, yeah, but it was 8 degrees when I got on the airplane this morning in Regina. Let's see the fridge.
It's 31 Celsius here in South Florida. There was an excessive heat warning yesterday around noon. And to be honest, I didn't even really feel it. So anyways, this is my housewarming gift from Serena. Oops, my earplug fell out. And like I said, it would have been a beer fridge back in the day. I got it stocked full of Diet Coke. And it's this Frigidaire, and she likes vintage things. I guess that's why she married me, because as people say, I'm vintage, but that's the housewarming gift of the office here. And it's a game changer. It's very fresh. Nice AC, and where me and Chris come and do our thing. Chris from the Bronx.
I like it.
Back on point. By the way, I have not even looked at the schedule for Week 16 CFL games. I haven't even looked. So it's just only Monday. We got all week to get to, so just hang on, everybody. And we got CFL and NFL topics here and a little bit of college. But Freddie in Winnipeg writes in regarding your Titans losing to the Jets on Sunday. He says, sorry, Moose, but Will Levis has to make better decisions with the football when he's under pressure. 2 weeks in a row now with awful turnovers. And when I hear that, I could just cry, because this is his first full season starting, correct? This is his first full season, no?
Right? Yeah. Being the starter through camp and coming out of it, and you're right. But then you see on that last drive what Will Levis is capable of athletically. Just Houdini's himself out of the pocket, scrambles for first downs, and almost led them on a game-tying touchdown drive. But then he's like trying to be Patrick Mahomes, because he's got the talent, the athletic ability, but you just don't need to make those plays. Sometimes you need to know when to take a sack. Took a field goal off the board because you didn't take a sack. So it's just maturity. He needs to mature as a quarterback.
It's interesting you say that, because when these guys show great flashes in their rookie year, like they came into Miami here. Remember that Monday night game? And they upset the Dolphins in a game the Dolphins had to win. That was in December. And it's like, oh, my God, that was the game where they said we could afford to get rid of Malik Willis because Will Levis is the next one. And now 2 games into this season, he ain't all that. And it's just, oh, my. And then over in Denver, Bo Nix. The Broncos are 0-2, and they're like, oh, maybe he's not what we thought he was going to be. The fans, and to be honest, I'm starting to think the coaches and the GMs and the owners want the next John Elway right now. And I'm going to tell you, not everybody can do that. Look at Sam Darnold and what he's doing in Minnesota, which, interestingly, that's our poll question today. Who's the most surprising 2-0 team? Which of these teams surprises you the most that they're 2-0? The Seattle Seahawks, the Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers, or New Orleans Saints? I'll be honest, I can tell you who I think is the least surprising, the Pittsburgh Steelers, of that 4, because Mike Tomlin just said, I've seen enough of Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett and whoever else they have. Seen enough. Like, who completely sweeps out their quarterback room? Yeah, Tomlin does, and they're 2-0. And in Minnesota, by the way, they're leading with the poll, over 50% of the votes voting for the Minnesota Vikings. That who thought Sam Darnold was going to be all that? Well, he was written off in pass stops. That's the NFL these days. I'll tell you a little story. Friday night, I went out for supper, Serena too, which, by the way, our supper guests should feel very honored that Serena came out after our normal supper time. But it was with Scott and Candy Morgan Roth of the South Florida Tribune, the publishers, and I was taking photos of the football helmets in Duffy's Sports Bar, habitually the winners of the greatest sports bar in Palm Beach County. And I was taking a photo with a Buccaneers helmet, and our server, Mackenzie, stops, and she's like, oh, are you a fan of the Bucks? And I'm like, yeah, more so taking a picture. I'm a fan of Baker. She's like, oh, I love Baker too. I've been following him since OU days. They know, Moose. They know. And the thing with Baker Mayfield is is it not as clear to you as it is to me? When you see a guy that will not You have to be dragged. His cold, lifeless body will have to be pulled off the playing surface. That's the only way they'll stop playing. That's Baker. He's a winner. Did you not see that? Because the Browns didn't see it, and the Panthers didn't see it, and the Rams didn't see it. They all let him go. The Bucs are seeing it. The Detroit Lions sure as hell saw it yesterday.
Oh, did they ever? I think those other teams saw it, but I just don't think they were willing to be patient enough to just, let it come out. Because Baker's so fiery, and he struggled to find exactly how it was going to work. I remember an early season game. It was Cleveland and Tennessee to open up the season. And so I was watching every snap because it was my Titans, and Baker just bing, 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 so methodical. And then as the game went on, he got more and more erratic and less focused. And you just need to find the right spot. Well, Tampa's been patient with him. They've just let him do his thing. They've allowed him to work through any issues that he's had. And he's a competitor. And you see it on the field. And I think his teammates love playing for him. It sure is a hell of a lot of fun to watch.
That's why it's very clear. I just don't get how 3 prior teams didn't get that. Okay, a few things here from the audience. Wayne in Victoria, BC. He's got some great questions and comments today. Number one, he says, by the way, Rod, I love your backdrop and how you made changes to it from day one. Very nice. Thank you. That's because of our crew at IKS. I needed to change it up a little bit. It's very comfortable in here. I do love it. The guy from Comcast that came and hooked up the technical requirements, he didn't want to leave. That's it. Ryan, he would have stayed here all night. Just shooting. He didn't want to go home. I don't think. He just wanted to shoot the business with me. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, I'm still wondering what your CFL most outstanding front runners are, Rod. I can't think of any. Well, that's a problem for you and the CFL, Bomber Boy. It's not something I want to waste my brain power on. To sit and talk about a first half MVP, a first half coach of the year, a 2/3 MVP, who cares? That's just a waste of my energy. That's why I didn't answer your question. And that came in last week. Corey in Manitoba writes in, he says, Velcro shoes are cool. Not when you got to wear them. I wore them 20 years ago when Bobby Vespasiani was our assistant GM with the Rough Riders, and I thought it was cool. Bobby V had Velcro shoes, so I got Velcro shoes, and I was in my late 20s, so that made it cool. Now I'm wearing these special orthotic shoes because I've got bursitis in my ankle. And by the way, they've come a long way. What?
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
I was going to say, I think those are orthotics. I think that's the term. Yeah. You see them in the Dixie Outlet Mall down the street.
Right. So what I'm saying, I'm wearing these special shoes because I got diagnosed with bursitis in my heel, and it's not as terrible as you might think. The guy was like, you're running too much. And you're old. And I think that's kind of what I'm coming to grips with here. You know, I lost a good friend Friday night in Ben Fairbrother at the age of 51. Tragic motorcycle accident. So trust me, I get it. There are far worse things than having bursitis and being told to slow down. I.e., you got to rest for a while. Let that thing heal. I don't even know what rest is. I'm trying to find a way to deal with this because I can tell you right now, my spirit, I feel 18. My body's saying, you ain't. You know what I'm saying? That's all. It's not the end of the world. It's just something that I'm dealing with mentally. Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, says, I have that same plant over your shoulder. Yeah? It ain't real, Nelson, just so you know. And just to hang on, from Wayne in Victoria, BC, regarding what's become a hot topic today, and I should have known it would be. For the BC Lions fans, listen up. Wayne says, hey, Rod, do you think there might be some dissension in the Lions locker room? They had said that it's VA's team before Rourke arrived. Dun, dun, dun. I think we all need to weigh in on that when we come back. And Taylor Mathis will be with us from Walking Bets and DraftKings later on in hour 2. We are live here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Talking sports, Canada's daytime sports talk shows right here on Game Plus TV. By the way, join veteran NHL coach Lauren Mulliken, Rough Riders great Bob Foley, Paralympic curler Gil Dash, and me, Rod Pedersen, at the first ever Wolseley Celebrity Sports Dinner, Saturday, October 19th. A night of stories, laughs, and a great dinner benefiting the Wolseley Sportsplex. A foul supper. For tickets, email wolseley.arenaboard@gmail.com. Please bring the Moose in. The biggest breaking news that I can see today comes from the world of hockey. Sidney Crosby plans to remain a Pittsburgh Penguin for at least 3 more years. The Penguins announced on Monday that they've re-signed the 37-year-old from Nova Scotia to a 2-year contract extension that kicks in next year with an average annual value of $8.7 million. Quickly, Moose, Penguins a playoff team this year or nah?
Yeah, I think they can be a playoff team. The veteran nature of that group can get them in, but they're going to be right on the edge fighting the whole way.
A busy day around Major League Baseball has 10 games on the slate, but the Blue Jays are off. They swept the Cardinals on the weekend. They open a series at the Texas Rangers on Tuesday. 902-518-3033. Wayne in BC wrote in with the question, do you think there might be some dissension in the BC Lions locker room? They had said that it's VA's team before Rourke arrived. I want to say something, too, by the way. I was stopped at the FAU football game Saturday night, Florida Atlantic University, by some people there that say they really love our show because they love, we talk NFL, we talk college, and CFL. So I want to pass that along. Plus, a lot of high school coaches watch this show every day, too, because they just love the ball. They love the football talk. Now, Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in and he says, this VA situation isn't going to end nicely. Any athlete that tells you, yeah, it's cool, is saying the right things for the good of the team, but they'd be dying to be out there. So I'm not in the BC Lions locker room. I'm not a doctor either, but I play one on TV. They're still human beings. And by the way, they had to sign Nathan Rourke when he was coming back, didn't they? They had to sign him. Like, I'm not sure they really did anything wrong, but them getting blown up in some games, including most recently Friday night by the Toronto Argonauts, wasn't in the script, Moose. Who are you starting the next game if you're BC?
That's a great question, and that's a question only Rick Campbell can answer. But if I'm Rick Campbell, if I'm BC, if you've gone out and basically said Nathan Rourke's your starter, like if VA was completely healthy last week and you still went with Nathan Rourke as your number one guy, then he's your number one. And VA was obviously okay with being number two, at least he said it. Then I'm going with Nathan Rourke again. Whoever you have decided in your building is your number one guy needs to be your number one guy. Because the second you pull your number one guy and make him not your number one, you've now fractured maybe his confidence, and you now have an unstable number two, which potentially is what happened to VA in the first place. So it's messy, it's sticky, but whoever they've said is number one in their walls should start next week.
I kind of wonder, I think this is why the coaches and the football and the sports people like this show so much, because we're giving you the inside of what these discussions are like, because the fans have no clue. Like Jeff the Stamps fan writes in and he says, Wally and Huff were so good at handling this. And back in the day in Calgary, he says, we'll see how BC does it. Utah Darren, by the way, says John Elway wasn't the next John Elway as a rookie. No, but the money wasn't then what it is now. John Elway back then was making about what Nathan Rourke is now. You have to understand, money changes everything. I go back to last hour when I was talking about Dak Prescott. When you get $60 million a year, and you're the highest paid quarterback, not only in Dallas Cowboys history, but in NFL history, it's not just every throw that's going to get scrutinized. It's every step that you take. It's every decision that you make, right or wrong. You're going to have a coach screaming in your face because they've invested in you. And I kind of wonder what is going on internally with the BC Lions. Because with VA, I know VA. He's a good guy. His teammates like him. I don't know Nathan Rourke. He's been on this show. He's been good enough to come on this show twice. I think Nathan's a good enough guy, but I don't know him like I know VA. We had VA with the Rough Riders. My point in all that is, you want to go 2, 3, 4 levels into this? The media Friday night after the Lions game, which Nathan Rourke was pulled at halftime, wanted to get into. Do you stand behind your comments calling out the CFL, why they didn't do more in the Chad Kelly situation, who incidentally was his counterpart Friday night, and Chad Kelly went in there and rolled, and Nathan Rourke didn't? Think Chad Kelly didn't walk out of there skipping on air? Oh, you want to call me out, huh? Chad Kelly was asked about that after the game, too, and he says, I have nothing to say about that. He just went out and bawled. Nathan Rourke doesn't want to do halftime interviews. I see people saying, pundits like Mike Stackhouse saying, he doesn't want to do halftime interviews, so he shouldn't have to do halftime interview. What I say to you, I don't want to take out the garbage, but guess what? I got to take out the garbage. At some point, Nathan, you want to call your shots? You can't be playing like you did Friday night. I guess me landing the plane on my whole point on this.
When you win and you play at an MVP level, you can pretty much do what you want, right? Isn't that the kind of deal?
That's what I'm saying. If
you walk the walk, you can talk the talk, not the other way around. Now, Nathan has earned this over time. You know, he played well, MVP level play. He's earned that contract, no doubt. Now he's got to go out and make it a good investment. He started by doing that. Ticket sales have been up, so that helps, earn that contract as well. But he needs to be consistent down the stretch. One bad game here, okay, the one coming out of, when you first start, I get that. Haven't played. And you're going to have a stumbling block here. But this better not be a regular occurrence, or the questions are going to come even worse than they are this week.
Patrolman Pete writes in from Winnipeg, and he says, VA is getting hosed. Can't argue with you there. Everything was going fine, from what I could see. Well, Nathan Rourke showed up and got the bag, by CFL terms. Rob Scott in Vancouver writes in and says, I disagree with you guys. You go with the guy that gives you the best chance to win? Do you really think it's Rourke right now? Oh, based on Friday night, no. Rob, did you play sports, though? I say that respectfully, because I don't want to drop a Danny Barrett on you and say, did you ever play the position, like he used to say to me? But my point is, it's not just about talent. Do the teammates like VA more than they like Nathan Rourke? Do they rally behind VA more than they do with Nathan? It's not just about who's the most talented guy. Agree or disagree, dear. It's not as cut and dried as you think, is my point.
No, it's not. It's not. And I know you go with who gives you the best chance to win. But if this is the Grey Cup, or this is the West Semi or the playoffs, then I think that question's a little more pertinent, and that opinion where you go with the guy who gives you the best chance, and you don't really care about your backup guy. Because, yeah, you might need him in the game, but you've picked your guy for the last game. You might need both quarterbacks down the stretch. You're going to need both quarterbacks to play at a high level. So it's not just about who gives you the best chance to win now. It's about what's going to put your team in the best situation down the stretch of several games to win a Grey Cup. You got to have everybody on the same page. You have to have them all buying into their role.
You could very simply say, if this was the West semifinal or the West final or the Grey Cup, who are you starting? But you also got to say, but it's not, which is what you're just saying. There's games after this.
Yeah.
Right? Taylor Mathis coming up from DraftKings, which I'm going to swing this in another direction for a second because I was getting a kick out of her comments on the Cowboys, which incidentally, I'm a Cowboys fan too. I just sporadically tweeted yesterday, does Mike McCarthy finish the season for the Dallas Cowboys? And over 70% said no. And they're like, it's not his fault that the quarterback didn't play. It's not his fault that the defense didn't stop. No, you can't fire 55 guys, but you can fire one coach. I'll get into that with Taylor Mathis when she joins us next. Monty, by the way, in Saskatoon says, it's Dallas. It's a long season. That's what Dak and Jerry Jones would have us believe after the game yesterday if you watched any of the interviews. A lot of things we can learn from here. On one hand, I want to believe him. On the other hand, I don't, which I don't believe him at all because I don't like Jerry Jones. I don't know him personally, but I was reading that Athletic article. Do you subscribe to the Athletic, Darren?
I do not, actually.
Okay. I would send it to you, but you have to have a subscription to read it. But there was a great long-form article in there on Troy Aikman, just to tell the stories here. And after their first Super Bowl win, Troy started his own Super Bowl party because everywhere he went, he didn't want to be. He walked into a room at the hotel, and here's Jerry Jones collecting money at the door. Everybody coming into the party. Troy's like, I don't want to be here. Here's Jerry making money again. Then he went to sort of some other party. He wasn't having fun there. It just sounds to me like Troy Aikman hasn't liked Jerry Jones for 30 years. I told you, he's my guy, Troy. I just wonder how awkward it is for Troy to walk into that stadium every Sunday to broadcast the games. Now, it was Tom Brady that did it on Sunday, but you get the point. into Jerry World. But you know what? It's the NFL. And as I've told you many times, these guys get over it for the sake of what's best for the brand. And let's be honest, themselves. That's the one thing I can't figure out about the sports people I've been around, Canada specifically. Can't get over this stuff. Belichick can, Brady can, Aikman can, Jones can, Jimmy Johnson can. But you can't? You won't go to the alumni event because of the guy that replaced you might be there? Take off your skirt, you sissy. Okay, Moose, you're done. See you next hour.
All right.
I'll text you who I was talking about because I don't think I told you that story.
No, we'll talk after the show.
It was the Ryder alumni thing a couple of weeks ago. I said, where's so-and-so? They're like, oh, he won't come because so-and-so's here. I'm like, still. Okay. Have a good one, man.
See ya.
Can't wait for this. Taylor Mathis is in next from DraftKings. We're live here on the... If you got any questions, by the way, fire them our way now. 902-518-3033 are on the YouTube feed. We're live on Canadian television, Game Plus in 31 U.S. states. WQEE Radio. Also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
We're brought to you in part by EMJ Marketing. As you all know, connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Check us out at emjmarketing.com. We're live here on the Game Plus Television Network and WQEE Radio in Atlanta, home of the Falcons. Big one in Philadelphia tonight. We're pleased to be joined by Taylor Mathis, like the biggest sensation in the sports betting world in a while. Hey, Taylor, welcome to the RP Show. Sports betting content, betting analyst with DraftKings, and that's come down the pipe fairly recently. How you doing, Taylor?
Yes, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on this beautiful Monday.
It is a beautiful Monday, except for Cowboys fans like you and me. And I do want to get into your story in a second, but I do want to talk about you are kind of making a living saying things we're all thinking. And you in all caps yesterday said Jerry Jones needs to explain giving Dak $60 million a year. Didn't go over too well with the Cowboys Nation? Talk to me.
It didn't. And I was a little surprised by that because being a Cowboys fan myself, I feel like I'm a truthful Cowboys fan. I see things for what they are. And while I fully agree, the defense yesterday we saw has some major problems, Dak Prescott still didn't help our case in trying to get a win yesterday against the Saints. But Cowboys fans like to be delusional, and they like to try to tell you that you've always got the wrong take. So I was surprised that my own Cowboys fans were coming for me yesterday on Twitter.
You've noticed you can't criticize Dak with a lot of Cowboys fans. You just can't criticize him because, to be honest, I don't see this guy that they're giving $60 million to. I just don't see it. I've never seen it.
I agree. I'm like, Dak Prescott, if you look at him as a whole, but if you look at the quarterback market as a whole, I understand why they're paying them what they're paying him at this point because of the quarterback market surrounding him, how late Jerry Jones waited to pay him, which is very true in Cowboys fashion that he had to be dramatic with the entire thing of paying the quarterback. I know that there isn't a lot of other options out there to pick a guy under center at this point who's going to be able to get the job done possibly better than Dak. But I think if we're looking for a Super Bowl, which is what I believe all Cowboys fans would like to see, I'm not sure if I believe that Dak Prescott is the guy to get the job done for us.
I've been saying it for a few years. So enough about that. People didn't tune in to see two more Cowboys fans crying about the same thing.
Yeah.
They did tune in to see you. And I'm just more than it. I'm interested to hear your story. The last few months, if I said they've been a whirlwind, would I be accurate in the world of Taylor Mathis?
That would be accurate. My last few months have been a complete whirlwind. I've had a couple of really cool, like, pinch me moments that I guess I didn't expect to happen in my career or things I've been dreaming for a really long time. The last few months have been absolutely crazy, and I'm super grateful and thankful for the way that it's gone.
Well, let's talk about that. You exploded onto the scene with your walking bets. Next thing you know, your followers skyrocket. Next thing you know, you got a DraftKings deal. You're traveling all over. So what are some of these things? Tell me what I've missed.
Yes. Well, most people I feel like don't know. I feel like some people think I just like all of a sudden appeared. I've heard people even like will call me like or have been writing on my stuff that I'm an industry plant within sports betting. And I'm like, no. I've been to the University of Iowa. I got my degree in sports journalism. I started the local television route right when I got out of school. I was a local sports reporter and television anchor in Kearney, Nebraska, which was a trip to say the least. Working in local television is definitely a grind. So that was how I got my start. I moved over into the digital space covering the NFL in Dallas for about a year and a half. And then I was a sideline reporter out here for the Suns for 2 seasons, which was a dream job in itself. Very cool. I got laid off during COVID and moved into betting during that time. And my career has taken off so much more within the betting space. I've had the opportunity to work for Superbook in Westgate, which is one of the largest physical sports books that exists in Vegas. I was with Sports Grid prior to being with DraftKings now, working as an on-air betting analyst and host. Now, with all of my content taking off, I've gotten in with this new partnership with DraftKings that I'm very excited about. This week, I'm actually heading to Aruba to work with a betting company, so that should be pretty cool. We're going to one of the largest poker tournaments that exists in the world this upcoming weekend, and then I'm also heading to the NFL game in London with DraftKings in 2 weeks. So I've got some really cool stuff coming up.
Well, tell me, what were these pinch me moments you've had over the last little bit?
I think starting with the fact getting an email from DraftKings and seeing that DraftKings wanted to work with me had to be a moment for me that was a big pinch me moment. As somebody who came into the sports gambling and sports betting space very new, I had a background in sports, but I didn't know much about the gambling side. I really learned from the ground up, learning how to really, decipher money lines, spreads, props, and then beginning to cap my own plays over time. Coming from the ground up and then getting to a point when you see one of the biggest players in the game wants to work with you in DraftKings, that was definitely a pinch me, surreal, really cool moment. And then thus far, all these traveling opportunities I'm getting to work with different brands, including DraftKings and others that I've got coming up. I'm a big traveler. I love to travel. So getting these work opportunities to go to some really cool places I've never been to before is extremely exciting for me. And I really can't wait to explore and also bring my audience more exciting and interesting content when I'm at all these cool locations.
Well, I remember when your Twitter bio said basically sports broadcaster for hire, let's work together. You're just putting yourself out there. That seems like a long time ago. Yeah, and then everybody, that was like you were manifesting or something. Things really took off after that.
Truly, I'm a big believer in manifestation, actually. And with working in the media business, I'm sure you know too, it's a grind. It's tough. It takes a lot of time to get where you want to be, a lot of hard work and dedication and grinding at your craft over time. And I feel like I've been doing that for so many years, and I was just waiting for a chance or a break or something to hit. And thankfully, I kind of took an opportunity here when my last contract was up with Sports Grid to really bet on myself, start doing a lot of my own content. And thankfully, other players have come into the mix that have taken notice of my content, seeing the kind of numbers I'm getting and the kind of audience I'm building. And it's been great because I've had so many great opportunities come my way with deciding to do my own stuff and really build on my own brand outside of necessarily immediately jumping into working with a company and following their game plan or outline of what they want me to do.
Well, good for you, because it takes balls. In your case, lady balls to do that. Massive lady balls to do that. And you can help me with something, because the way that you shove it down the haters' throats, when I go back at haters, people say to me, you can't be saying that. That's blah, 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 blah. You don't seem to care. Like, have you been posting this? Yeah. Tell me why and how that is.
I think part of that is just because being a female within the sports industry, or being a female really in general within any male-dominated field, you already have to have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder and be able to really brush off the hate. I always say that. Brush off the hate, brush off the negative comments, and you have to really build a thick skin. I think that's something that I've done over time, starting in local television. Already in that position, I worked in an all-male sports team, and I was working, in middle America. I'm from the Midwest myself. A lot of women necessarily weren't going to be on their TV screens talking sports. And I was one of the first, actually the only one in the state of Nebraska at the time. And while that came with a lot of doubt and a lot of questioning of my sports knowledge or what I can bring to the table, at the same time, once I hate to use the word proved myself, but once the Nebraska audience really started to catch on to who I was, it became actually such a positive for me that I was the only female in the state doing it. I was very recognizable, and people loved that they were seeing something different on their screen as opposed to the men that were always talking Nebraska sports. It was a nice little change for them. It worked out well in my favor, and I feel like over time, I've really been able to build my own personality for my audience. And I really try to be vulnerable and allow people to see who I truly am, the good and the bad. So when I get some of these troll messages, sometimes I laugh to myself and I'm like, we might as well troll the troll right now. I like to say my little Mathis Mafia too really has my back online. The audience, they'll really, the people will really have my back there on social media when some people are coming at me. But at the grand scheme of things, the way I see it is good talk, bad talk, hate or love. They're still talking about me. So I've got to be doing something right, and you can't have haters if you aren't doing something. That's what I say. So I've got to be doing something okay for people to be hating on me.
You're crushing it. And our viewers asked us to get you on.
Oh, I love that.
I'm like,
love
Clark.
that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm like, Clark, let's get on it. And he was shocked, to be honest, that you wrote him back. He's like, yeah, Taylor's coming on next week. I'm like, oh, well, that's fantastic. Yeah, so it's good, man.
Of course. I love it. I love it. I'm like, anytime I get a chance to come chat, I'm all about it.
Okay, well, listen, just promise me you won't change a thing. You'll keep crushing it, and it's been fun to watch. And enjoy the games and safe travels.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Taylor Mathis of DraftKings. We'll be right back with a sports update. I want to hear all your questions and comments of what we've talked about today, and specifically that interview too. And in Viewer Takeover. Overtime's brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, of course, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Well, I'll tell you what. I want to thank you, the viewers, because you've been exceptional today. And, well, you always just got to sit back and watch or listen. But those that are commenting in, you've been on point today. Can we keep that all week? That would be fantastic. Because after a crappy weekend, our good friend Ben Fairbrother passing away Friday night and just the bad things that have gone on. It's been a good start to the week. Taylor was great. Nice job, Clark, with the guests today. The questions and comments have been fantastic. Let's keep that going all week, if you don't mind. Rob writes in from Vancouver, and he says, I appreciate knowledgeable women like Taylor doing what they do. But bad memories of seeing women doing sports with no clue what they were talking about. They set women back more than sexist trolls, but that was long in the past now. Yeah, I think Taylor's doing great. Clark with some breaking news writes that he says veteran quarterback Andy Dalton will reportedly start for the Panthers in place of former number 1 overall pick Bryce Young. The Red Rifle. That? I'm surprised they didn't start the season with him. It's just not working. It's just not working there. I will get to this sports comment in a moment. Sports break in a moment. Oh, I didn't even mention. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. That the Overtime is brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Hockey players, if you are looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot, look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Cowtown. Whether you're prepping for the big game or just want to have some fun, Overtime Hockey Lanes has got you covered. Check them out, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. It's an amusement park for hockey players. Trust me, I would never steer you wrong. What do we got here? Freddie in Winnipeg. He's texted in a few times today, but he's been lucid. So we'll let him. He says, hey, Rod, on the 902 line, since we're starting to talk about hockey, can't wait to talk more. But I heard that one of the Utah hockey team staff members mistakenly said that their hockey team will be called the Yeti. What do you think of the name, and who would be their rival, Vegas or Colorado? Well, number one, I think we all thought it was going to be Yeti, didn't we? I thought we knew that for a while, so that doesn't surprise me. I'm just glad he didn't get fired, because here in Florida, some staff member tweeted a photo of the center ice logo before the team was ready to unveil it, and they fired him. Or her. I don't know the gender of the person fired, but I'm like, oh my God, welcome to sports these days. You're discardable. Psst, off with your head. I assumed it was going to be the Yetis. And my guess is the rivalry should probably be with Vegas. There was a little bit of one between the Coyotes and Golden Knights, but it could be with, you never know who the rivalries are going to be with, right? Geographically, yes, but what do we got here? Hank writes in. Hank in the Queen City says, Rod, from a much older guy to an old guy, run on grass, dirt, or gravel next. Pavement is next, but stay off the concrete as much as possible. Signed, Hank. Why is he giving me running advice? Because I was diagnosed with bursitis of the heel over the weekend. I'm going to be honest. It's painful. And look, not complaining. I'm just telling you that it happened. So now I'm in these special shoes. Serena and I had to go to a special store on the weekend and do this special test for my feet and how I walk. And I'm that guy now. And they just said, you need to take it easy and slow down. I'm like, I don't know what that is. What is that? Slow down? So, yeah, I was even in there running today, just testing it out, going a little slower. Yeah, why not? I'll sort it out. Happy to be alive. That's a fact. I'm just saying this happened. And I'm walking around Florida Atlantic University Stadium Saturday night with a limp. I'm like, I'm far too young to have a limp. Kirk in Toronto writes in, and he says, come on, Kirk. Number one, he says, game of the week is Hamilton at Toronto. He's talking about the Canadian Football League. I think it's actually Sask at Calgary, but I get it. Mike Hogan, the voice of the Argos, was on Twitter today saying, effectively, they can knock out the Ticats with a win on Friday night. I don't get how Hoagie can pop off on social media, but whenever I said anything, it was a life sentence in CFL circles. I don't know. The reason I said, oh, come on, Kirk, he writes in, he says, hey, Rod, did you see the BC Lions celebrating in the dressing room after their big win in Montreal? A week later, there are big issues in BC. Who cares? They'll learn those lessons on their own. Looks like they are. Wilfin Steinbach, Manitoba, says, I think Rick Campbell has a tough job. Who starts at quarterback in BC? Money says Rourke, even if VA is better. Well, at least BC has a bye this week. I did take a minute to write down the schedule. BC is the lone team not playing this weekend. They got some time to figure this out. They say, it's a good problem to have, but as I've learned in the recovery world, every problem is a problem. There's no such thing as a good problem. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg says, I might go back to be my off-topic rambling about the Winnipeg Ice tomorrow. You do you. They don't have an elliptical at Johnny O's, Bomber Boy. See you tomorrow.
Who has more fun than us?
How about that?